if you're like a lot of the men that I work with in recovery, you've been taught to be like tough. You've been taught to push through, man up, don't show weakness. But here's a question for you. What if real strength isn't about being harder on yourself, but what if it's about being kinder to yourself? Today, we're going to be busting through some of the biggest myths about self-compassion and why learning to stand within yourself instead of against yourself might be the most powerful thing you've done.
Welcome to Beyond the Facade podcast. I'm your host, Luke Gordon, and I'm thrilled to have you join me in this space today. What we're going to be doing is diving deep into the trials and triumphs and truths of seeking authenticity. Becoming your true self isn't about a single action or moment. It's a relentless pursuit, a commitment to self that reveals the rich connection and meaning that our life has to offer. So whether this is your first time tuning in or you're a regular listener, know this: what you're building here goes beyond a conversation. You're here to challenge, to change, and to celebrate the incredible journey of becoming your authentic self. Because when you dare to show up fully, the rewards are immeasurable. So welcome to Beyond the Facade. Let's get started.
All right, so let's get into it. But before we dive in, I do want to pause for a second and recognize something that's really important. If you're one of those partners that's been hurt and the stuff we talk about today feels triggering because it feels like we're letting somebody off the hook, we're not. It's going to actually help the person in recovery face what they've done and own it and have an opportunity to build real trust and not fake their way through it. So we can't do anything without that self-compassion. And I want to hold space for that fear today. If you're that betrayed partner, you deserve that healing, and you deserve for somebody to be able to hold that space. And it comes on the other end of them having some compassion for self. And we're going to get into that day and talk about the reason why. So if this is triggering, I just want to validate that. So let's start with setting the stage for what self-compassion really is. Inside of every person that's betrayed somebody, or just, I guess with humans in general, there are going to be different parts of us. There's a part of us that criticizes. There's a part of us that fears failure. There's a part of us that wants to numb out when we feel that failure, that wants to escape. And those parts of us, like, especially for those that are starting the journey of recovery or in it early in, they want to kill those parts of them that hurt people, right? Those parts of them that are scared, those parts of them that are angry, those parts of them that have shame. But healing doesn't happen because we destroy a part of ourselves, because we eliminate a part of ourselves. It happens because we lead those parts of us that fear failure, that criticize, that want to numb out. So right now, many of the men that I work with have a manager that's running the show, and that manager has a voice that says, get it together, do better, try harder, get your crap together. Instead, we need to develop self-energy, which is that calm, confident, compassionate self-leadership. And that self-compassion, that's not a weakness, it's a strength. And it's the starting line for some of that real change and real recovery. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some myths. Here's the myths. I'm going to give you 7 of them. Myth number 1, self-compassion means avoiding responsibility. Self-compassion actually strengthens accountability. It doesn't weaken it. I'll give you an example. If you own your mistake, like missing on something you said you were going to do and you hurt somebody, piece that you said, I'm going to do this, and you don't follow through, you can collapse into shame, right? But if you have self-compassion, it'll allow you to choose to face it head on and make those amends. And we're going to talk about the reason why that would be. Myth number 2, self-compassion is weak and selfish. In reality, it takes so much strength to take care of yourself. And you can't lead yourself or others if you're running like on that empty. It's interesting watching and observing what we call outer circle behavior, self-care in recovery. But the men that will prioritize that, I can think of, again, just so much triggering dialogue that could be here. I remember my therapist early on in my journey just saying to me, hey, your groups, your sessions, your therapy sessions have to come before birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, whatever it might be. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to have those unless recovery actually happens. You're not going to have time with your kids. You're not going to be having the anniversaries with your partner. You're not going to be having shared holiday experiences unless recovery comes first. And that actually comes from that self-compassion piece, that running on empty, that if I'm trying to help other people and support other people, if I'm empty inside of myself, it's not going to work. So self-compassion is about self-care. It's about outer circle behavior. It's about those things. So if that isn't happening, how can you possibly be able to follow through on those pieces? And that is self-compassion. We're going to take a quick break for a moment. I want to let you know of some things that we have coming up at Choose Recovery Services.
Are you a woman carrying trauma in your body, tension, discomfort, and that tightness that just won't quite release? This is Hallie Roderick, and I would like to invite you to join us this August 26th through 29th in Spanish Fork, Utah, for Revive and Thrive, a 4-day somatic healing intensive designed exclusively for women ready to reclaim their bodies. Guided by expert therapists, coaches, and body-based specialists, you'll learn to uncover where trauma lives in your body and gently release it through somatic practices like art therapy, breath work, brain spotting, energy healing, mindfulness practices, and therapeutic immersion in nature. It's more than just an intensive. It's a sacred sisterhood where you'll process emotions, rebuild resilience, and come home to yourself, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So if you're ready to step fully back into your life with freedom and strength, visit the show notes to learn more and to register.
Let's get back to our episode. Myth number 3, self-compassion lowers standards and kills motivation. Isn't that interesting? The self-compassion, like the reality is self-compassion, like is going to build that resilience, which is going to fuel the higher standards over time. That self-talk that I have, if I fail at something that I think I'm going to do, like maybe I say I'm going to show up with my partner and it doesn't go the way I think it's going to go. Shame makes you like want to quit and never try again. But compassion helps you like learn and grow from that experience and keep going. And we can just think about responding to a child if they fell at something. How do we respond to them? Obviously with compassion, not with a bunch of shame. We know how they'd respond to both. Myth number 4, you have to earn self-compassion. Reality, you don't earn it after success. You actually need it most when you're struggling. I don't know, maybe it's a good analogy or not, but Thomas Edison with the light bulb. I don't know where I heard this, but like how many times? It's like somewhere like around 1,000 times. Probably should look that up before I start quoting stuff on a podcast. But what dialogue did he have in his mind inventing the light bulb? Did he shame himself after every failed attempt? No, you don't earn self-compassion after you're successful. You get it when you're struggling. So like sitting in a group after a relapse or a slip feels like that failure, right? But you're still choosing to stay and fight for your recovery. So being willing to look at and have compassion towards self keeps you engaged in that. Part of me wants to like pause and go, okay, what actually is not self-compassion where I let myself off the hook? And that is just a level of change. Do I move my feet after? Am I open? Am I transparent? Do I jump back into the recovery and the work? Self-compassion guides that. Myth number 5, self-compassion is just fake positivity. Let me say that again. Self-compassion is just fake positivity. So reality, self-compassion actually faces reality honestly. And you choose kindness in like the middle of that experience. That honesty breeds something new. So okay, let me give you an example. So if you admit fear or shame in a group, right, in that type of setting without pretending, and you stay present with yourself through that experience, it's not about, oh, I'm just good or I'm fine, everything's okay. You don't have to know it and have figured it out inside of that setting when you show up to group. It's not pretending that you've got everything together. It's about staying present with yourself through that. I feel those emotions of that failing or not doing what I said I was going to do. And I'm staying present with myself through that experience. I'm not running from that. I'm not needing to numb that out or pretend like everything's okay. And I'm noticing and I'm learning about my experience. It takes some time, but you have to admit what you experienced. I'm feeling shame. I'm feeling some fear. I'm feeling some anger, whatever it might be, not pretending. Myth number 6, self-compassion only works for good people. Self-compassion only works for good people. Reality is self-compassion is for every human out there, especially for those who are hurting. And it doesn't feel like that, right? I shouldn't be compassionate for self. I'm not a good person. Why I don't deserve that yet. And I think it's kind of like what we talked about before. But self-compassion exists for all people. So an example, somebody's fighting to build a relationship with his kids after a bunch of years of damage. That's pretty normal in this world, right? So showing up with humility and not for perfection, because that's not what's going to happen, is going to be a really important part of rebuilding that relationship. And humility exists with compassion, not from a good old-fashioned beatdown. Myth number 7, self-compassion means avoiding hard emotions. Reality, real compassion means staying with that pain and not numbing or running from it. These overlap, right? So let's just give an example of this. So you have a big fight. You're sitting alone somewhere and you're feeling like everything. You're breathing through it. You're staying connected to yourself instead of exploding or disappearing. So just take a breath. Which one of these myths have you believed in the longest? Where have you fought yourself instead of leading yourself? What part of yourself have you been trying to kill to get rid of? Healing doesn't start with being perfect. It starts when you're stepping into some level of kindness and truth with yourself. So it's calling things as they are, but how you engage yourself, the self-talk through that. You know, just a friendly reminder, if you are the person that did the betraying, the individual seeking recovery, and not the person that's betrayed, if you hear this and you're like, wow, I need some more self-compassion, you don't have to run to your partner who you've hurt and say, hey, you know what, I recognize I got to work on the self-compassion part. You don't have to put it in your face that you're lacking self-compassion because of their pain, of them being hurt from your choices. Just allow yourself to notice this within yourself and bring your own community into it. And then just notice what level of accountability exists. Notice how you want to move into change, how you don't want to sit back, stop, get stuck, and be paralyzed, how you want to actually move and continue forward in fighting for your recovery. Because if self-compassion will drive you to engage your partner with empathy and you engage in hearing her pain, that's what self-compassion will drive you towards. It won't distance yourself towards them because it makes more sense that we're compassionate for partner when we can hold some compassion for self. Hopefully this was for you today, especially if your partner was betrayed. Not an overwhelmingly triggering experience, and recognize that part of me goes, I hope you turned it off if it's not something that's helpful to you, if you're the betrayed partner. And if there is some hurt from it, we'd want to know about it. We want to hear about it. And anyway, hopefully this is prompting to more thought, and thank you for spending the time with us today.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. If this is something that you connected with, I'd love to meet with you more and talk about it. So what you can do is go to chooserecoveryservices.com or check the show notes. And there what we can do is set up a quick conversation to meet. Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Facade, where we unmask the authentic self.